Let me take you on a journey through time to when humans learned to use tools, learned to write, learned about their gods, learned to sacrifice their gods, perfected the arts of war and politics. These were some of the lightbulb moments in human history. Lightbulb Moments in Human History is released in February 2023 and is available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
Hello, Scott. How are you, mate? Delighted to be chatting
G'day,
with
guys.
yourself and Steve.
How you doing?
Yeah,
Good to see you
really
guys
good
bright and
to
early in the morning.
catch up with you.
5 a.m. your time,
Yeah, of
Scott?
course it's half six. Yeah, half six at night our time, and really early o'clock in your world.
Yeah, well, anyway, it's fine. I'm waking up. I got my coffee. I'm good to go.
What's it like in Sydney? Is it the weather okay? But you've only just got out of bed, so you probably haven't even had a chance to look
Well,
out yet, have you?
it's dark outside at the moment, I can tell you. But the weather has been pretty good recently. It's coming up. It's spring here, so it's starting to get nicer. I'm in a hoodie right now, but only because it's 5:30 in the morning. It's a little bit cool, but I'll be in shorts and a t-shirt today, so it's good. And like recently, we've had the wettest year ever on record. So normally you guys probably associate Australia with sun and everything. It's been miserable all year. So
Wow.
we're not used to it.
Oh, dear.
Yeah,
Sorry,
sorry, I was going to say outside of writing, what do you do in Sydney to relax and hobbies and things like that? Do you have outside interests like that?
I have a few, but I mean, to be honest, like I'm a full-time teacher. I've
Yeah.
written two books in the last 18 months. I don't have a lot of life. That's, I do like going out kayaking. I walk a lot. Just get out and about, go to cafes, restaurants. But yeah, other than that, I don't have like a major passion that I pursue like as a pastime.
No, it's history, is it? I think. No.
No, I'm a primary school teacher, so I teach everything.
Oh, oh, right, yeah,
Like
right.
I teach English, science, geography, health, sport, and history. But yeah, I'm not a specialist history teacher. I've got a degree in English history as a BA, but yeah, that was something I did before I did my teaching degree. So yeah, it's not recent. I'm not really a historian.
So,
I call myself a history nerd because I think any historian who'd read my book would probably be um, they may be amused, but they may also be horrified. They know what historiography is he using? I don't know.
so yeah, that's a full-time job then, primary school kids, teaching them just about everything. And yeah, it's probably not too stressful, I wouldn't have thought.
Oh, look, it has its moments. This has been an interesting year. I've had an interesting bunch of kids this year. Um, but yeah, normally it's not too bad. I mean, I had an entire career in printing and publishing. Had a printing business with in the family business for 23 years. So I then, changed careers, and that was when I realized that actually, because being in business is stressful, getting 2 weeks holiday a year because that's all you're going to afford to give yourself is stressful. Now I'm getting 12 weeks holiday a year, and I work from, well, I do lots of after hours work, but I'm face to face with kids from 9 to 3. It's not as stressful as being in business. So I have a different perspective to say some primary school teachers who think it's the most stressful job they've ever done. But yeah, still, it has its moments. But like you say, it's kind of nice too, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Scott, your book, The Lightbulb Moments in History. I'm just wondering, it's reading it. It's a brilliant read, by the way. It's aimed for
Oh,
an adult
thanks.
market. Is there a
It
reason
sure
why
is.
you haven't sort of aimed this at the primary school age range?
Because there's already books for that. There's the whole horrible history series.
Ah,
This is like horrible histories for adults.
yeah, brilliant. Yeah,
I have considered doing a version for kids, but I think they might wait till after I finish the entire series. I've got at least two more books to write. and depending how it goes along, more. It seems to be getting bigger than Ben-Hur. It was originally going to be one book, and then I was advised that I would never get that one book published because it would be, 200 pages. Well, no, more now 200 pages. Sorry, I'm still waking up, guys. Yeah, it'd be 200,000 words, and it would never make it. So I had a person advise me to split it up, and then it's this first book runs for millions of years. It runs from basically the dawn of time up until the end of the Roman Empire. The second book, which I literally just finished yesterday, that runs for about 1,000 years. The next book will probably run for 200 years because the way we're building up his human knowledge, we're just I can't fit. There was a million years in a book now. I can only, and by the end I'll be fitting maybe 50 years if I'm lucky. So the way it's working, it's going to be at least 2 more books, possibly a 5th.
We were chatting earlier about the way you've managed to get a Bill Shankly quote in there, the ex-great Liverpool manager. Do you remember the quote, Steve?
I thought you'd appreciate that.
We did.
Yeah. The quote is football's more important. Actually, the actual quote is, some people think football is a matter of life and death. I don't like that attitude. I can assure them it's much more serious than that. You use that, don't you? And it's superb. Yeah.
Use that in relation, I think, to the Mesoamerican ball game where if they lost, they got killed.
Yeah, of course, we all know it's for those 90 minutes, it is more serious than that. But of course, there is more important things than football, with life generally and what happens, of course. Yeah, but at the time when Shankly said that, it was very, it was very apt, wasn't it? Very Shankly, actually.
It was. Like your Mesoamerica is the sort of Mayans and Aztecs and those kind of
I think that was my favorite chapters. I liked the bit about they thought that having crossed eyes and a flattened skull was somehow attractive in their society.
Yeah, and they contrived to make people have those things. They sort of squashed little kids' heads with boards and sort of squashed them into a shape, and sort of made them focus on things, like as little kids, so they were crossed eyes all the time. God knows where they got that idea from.
Tony's got a slight advantage over me. He's managed to read most of your, if not all of your book. I only got to the first couple of pages, but I did like it. But I just didn't have time to carry on at the time, and I'm really interested. I was quite hooked actually just after the first page, and I do need to pick it up again, but I haven't got as far as Terry, obviously. But
I read it one day. I think it was absolutely brilliant. I like the tone, the light-hearted tone. There's facts in there. How the hell did you do all the research and sort of condense it down to make it sort of light-hearted? You must have gone through a whole ton of reference material.
Yeah,
I did. I did go through a lot, but then I think this is kind of the book. Yeah, this is going to sound really wanky, but this is the book I was born to write. It's just all the things that I've ever been interested in, all shoved into one project. So even though I had to do a lot of research to pick up on the facts and stuff, it's actually stuff that's probably been percolating around on my head my entire life.
Yeah.
So that just goes to show you what goes on in my head.
Why was the God of the Old Testament so crazy? Why did Sumerians have temple prostitutes? And why did the Mayans give each other tobacco enemas? Lightbulb Moments in Human History has the answers. Lightbulb Moments in Human History is the book you never knew you had to read. Available in February 2023 at all good bookstores. And some bad ones too.
Was it peaked with the moon landings, I think you mentioned?
Yes. I don't know if you can see it from my shoulder, this side.
Oh, yeah.
One of those pictures is an actual side picture of Neil Armstrong.
Wow, yeah.
So that's the one just over my shoulder. It's hard to do is that's Neil. That's actually a legitimate signed picture. There's next to that, there's a Life magazine cover of the moon landing.
Oh, yeah.
The guy next to Buzz is Jim Lovell, the commander of Apollo 13.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. It's signed and it says, Houston, we have a problem in the signature.
Yeah.
And then next to that's an actual newspaper, like the New York Daily News of the day of the moon landing.
I know Australia played a big part, didn't they, in the actual moon landings? Wasn't there a huge telescope? I think that they lost track of the spaceship, I think, at one point.
Yeah, because they needed a
relay point,
radio telescope on everywhere on the Earth, or different places on the Earth, so they could keep contact. So, because we're on the other side of the Earth, that was the place they had the radio telescope. I think, and I mean, there's a movie. I don't know if it was a movie called The Dish. I don't know how true that. I mean, it's true to a certain extent. Whether it's as true as it was, where they actually were. If they hadn't been able to get the signal, then they wouldn't have been able to sort of film them. Well, not film, but broadcast the moon landing. I don't know, but it's a nice story.
Sam Neill, isn't he? I remember him playing cricket. I think on the actual dish.
Yes, on the dish. Yes, that'd be right.
Speaking of your background there, I mean, you can just about see those photos. Below it is. Can I see a UK flag there?
Yeah. I'm Australian, but I'm an Anglophile. Having said that, having said that, I'm also a Republican, so I don't really want the king to be my head of state. But I still I mourn the death of the Queen. I think she was pretty amazing. But I also think that she's the Queen of England, or she was the Queen of England, and King Charles is the King of England. And he's not the head of state of Australia. So I mean, that doesn't mean I don't love all things UK. I've been there a couple of times. My sister lives in London. I'm very much a Anglophile, but I'm also a Republican. It's probably hard to make sense of, but yeah.
No, I know what you mean. Yeah.
So yeah.
Cool. So going back to your book then. Who designed the cover of that? Was it your own design, or did you get someone in to do it? Because, or was it your publisher? Or
no, I did it. I fully expected to have to self-publish, and I figured that I might as well start thinking about the cover, because I have a graphic arts background. I was in printing and publishing, and I learned how to do all the graphic arts kind of stuff. So it was something that I was interested in doing it. Basically, I just did it because I thought, well, eventually I'll self-publish and I'll need to have a cover. So it was something I occupied myself with when I was having a bit of, if I ever had any kind of writer's block or anything, I'd then do something else. So I figured that was keeping me occupied on the project. So I did that, and I fully expected to use it if I did it as a self-publishing project. But when it got picked up, I thought, well, they actually said in the contract, it was, well, we have full right of not refusal. They had control of the images and all that. They would do whatever they felt as necessary. But I sent them the cover on spec, and they liked it, so they went with it.
Is there a reason why? Is this just traditional publishers' delay? A reason why it's not actually going to be published until February next year?
Yeah, well, they say there's a 10-month lead time between. That's what apparently it's not just to do with, like, I had a copy of the book in my hand within 2 months of signing the contract. So it's not about producing the book. It's about their marketing. They have to, apparently they have to do things like there are trade publications they advertise in, because the shops buy books months and months and months in advance of their release. So they have to let people know there's a book coming. You need to factor this in your sales. I don't pretend to understand it all. it's very frustrating.
Mm.
I've been sort of, it's been in the can, and I've been working on the second book all this year. And I've been telling people, like, I'll tell my friends, oh, my book's going to get published, and when? Oh,
Yeah.
next year.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's just how it is. It's yeah, it's a bit frustrating. Like, I mean, I've this next book I'm going to, or my next job is to reread it all and you know, tweak it. But basically, I want to try and submit it to the publisher probably by the end of this month or early next month, so that hopefully it'll be out by next Christmas.
Yeah. Have you had a reaction from advanced copies that you've sent out to people? I know I've told you this on Twitter. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think it's a brilliant read and highly recommend for next Christmas with part 2 as well.
Father's Day,
Yeah.
bar mitzvahs,
Valentine's Day.
Yeah, absolutely. So, are there any reactions that I've had? I haven't had that many. It had a review in a magazine called How It Works, which is apparently a UK magazine. I only found it by accident. Every so often I do that thing where you Google the name of your book and see what comes up. And this thing came up, and I'm like, what the hell's that? And I followed it through, and it was actually it was a book review. A book review that came out early this month, sorry, early October, saying, and it was really, really glowing review, and it was saying that the book was available, which of course it's not.
Yeah.
But
building up a demand.
Yeah. So I was really happy with that. But then I've also had a few. It goes up on one of the things that publishers do is they put it up on a site called NetGalley.
Oh.
And NetGalley, there are advanced copies are made available to people, and they can review it. Now, I don't know how popular NetGalley is or whether it's a reflection of my book, but I had 3 reviews on NetGalley. One of them was a 5-star, fantastic, loved it kind of review.
Yeah.
One of them was like, clearly hadn't read it, because they were saying, great little history book, does what it says on the label, great for children.
What?
Oh, no. How do people get away with doing that? You know, review something like that. That's ridiculous. Isn't it?
Yeah.
And then I had a 1-star review where someone absolutely panned it, you know, and I'm like, it was unbelievable. It was just like, oh my God, how do you get that out of that? I can understand people not liking it. Like, it has certain, like, for instance, if you were a rabid Christian and you read some of my book, you might be offended. If you were someone who loved Donald Trump and you read my book, you might be offended. Don't ask me how I got Donald Trump into this book, but I did.
You got Shankly in as well. We know that.
That's true. I shoehorn a lot of things in.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I can understand. So if you took, some people might have read certain parts of it and decide this guy is an absolute tool, and I'm gonna pan his book. So I don't know. I fully expect it's going to arouse some definite real love-hate kind of response. I don't think it's all going to be love. I don't think it's all going to be hate, but I do think there'll be some people who will take against it, and I'll just have to cop it.
I'm of the opinion that if you haven't got anything nice to say, don't say anything. I wouldn't dream of giving anyone a 1-star review. I'll give a 5-star review. I'm delighted to, but I think if it was below 3 stars in my mind, I just wouldn't post a review. I might say something personally, directly to the writer.
Yeah,
but I'd keep it. I wouldn't make it public.
I think some people are just trolls, and they live to sort of kick people to the curb. However, I don't know why it is. You see it on Twitter, you see it in all social media. Yeah. You give someone a platform, and certain people will try to abuse it in some way. That's just how it is.
Yeah. Having a look at your website, which is really excellent, by the way. Terry commented on it to me the other day. But you also mentioned on there about you had trouble connecting with agents, and you were lucky enough to get a publisher with John Hunt. But were you going to go down this self-publishing route and what swayed it in the end for you to go down to a publisher, or because we speak to a lot of authors, and a lot of them now these days appear to be going down the self-publishing route to find it quicker. As we've talked about,
Oh, for
launches
sure.
quicker and all that. So, sorry.
Yeah, for sure. I'd been listening to Joanna Penn and the self-publishing show guys, and I was fully wound up to do that kind of thing. That was where I thought I was going. I had a friend who said, "You're mad if you don't at least try to get it traditionally published." And so I thought, well, I'll give it a crack. And I had some advice. I got a person who's like someone who's that their job is to advise people how to get published, how to sort of prepare all the proposal documents and everything to get it published. And so I had all that done. And I then started querying it to agents, and there was a deafening silence. I was either getting totally ignored, or I was getting very quick kind of, not for us, good luck with your sort of your journey kind of thing. And I think I got like 50 rejections. And then I decided what I would do is I'd have one last crack, but I would forget the agents. I'd submit direct to publishers, because I had heard of a couple of people who'd done that. And that was when I actually came across a guy on Twitter who had been through John Hunt, and that I just thought I'd give them a crack, and it was accepted, and that was it. The reason I chose that over doing self-publishing is I just don't have the time to manage it. Like, as it is, the traditional publishers expect you to do a lot of your own publicity. So in some ways, like, I'm already doing a lot. But if I wanted to make it to be a successful self-publisher, I'd had some private communications with Joanna Penn, and she was saying, "Oh, how many books you got?" I went, "Well, one." And she went, "Well, that's no good. You need a series." And I said, "Well, I haven't got a series yet. I'm going to have one, but I haven't got one yet." "Oh, well, you really, the model for self-publishing success is you have a series, you market the series, you sort of your first book is free, and then you then sell the other books." And I said, "Well, I'm not going to give this book away for free because I got nothing else." So yeah, it was really, for me, it was a bit of a no-brainer. If I had the option to get it published traditionally, I wouldn't go down the self-publishing route. Now, with the book, if the sales are underwhelming, I can get the rights back after a certain period of time. And at that point, if literally it's just not selling and it's just not working, it's probably in the best interest of myself and the publisher to say bye-bye.
Yeah.
But at this point, I'm quite happy with how it's working. I think, even though obviously I haven't seen sales yet, I've seen what's been going on in the background from the publisher's end. Stuff I couldn't have done myself. Like obviously I've built the website, I'm building a mailing list, of building a Twitter following, all that kind of stuff, all the things they tell you to do. I'm doing that. But I couldn't have done a lot of the things that they've done. And it certainly wouldn't be in bookstores if it was a self-published book. Not unless I personally put it in there. It actually has been in a bookstore, because I had some advanced copies. In fact, I can buy as many copies as I like, and they'll produce them and send them to me. And I said to them, "Oh, well, do I have to keep them under wraps until the book's released?" "No, do whatever you like with them," they told me. So I've actually had them in a bookstore near where I live. So, but I don't want to push that as being a big deal until it's actually released. Yeah.
Fair enough. You mentioned Twitter, Scott. Are you using any other social media platforms? Are you using TikTok, Facebook, Instagram? Was it purely Twitter?
Using TikTok. I am using TikTok. I don't do little dances or anything like that. But I do make little videos. One of the things that actually a skill I've learned through being a teacher, surprisingly, is and to do with lockdown and online teaching was how to make and edit videos. So I've been making and editing like video kind of trailers for the book,
Right.
and I've put a few of those up on TikTok.
Ever since humans emerged from the cave, we've been collecting knowledge. But there's some stuff we've forgotten.
Huh?
Did you know that the horny red devil doesn't appear in the Bible? Did you know 75 million years separates the last dinosaurs and the earliest humans? Did you know about the banned gospel that shows the boy Jesus killing people? Lightbulb Moments in Human History, From Cave to Colosseum, is the book you never knew you had to read. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
Do you have a set writing routine then? Or do you have a place where you go and take yourself off and sit and write? Or do you have a certain time of a day that you dedicate to writing? Or do you just do it as and when it comes into your head?
Well, being a full-time teacher, I'll come home at night, make my dinner, and then do my work. I've got preparation for the next day and all that kind of stuff. When that's done and I've got a clear mind, I'll probably sit down about 8:30 at this desk, which is in my living room, and write here. But I don't always write. I think I said earlier, like I did the cover myself at a time when I was having trouble coming up with motivation. And because I don't know, in the book, there are a lot of little sort of illustrations, meme-like illustrations, and they take a bit of time. And so I would just, as long as I worked on the project, it didn't have to be writing. It could be like doing some Photoshop on the memes, or it could be doing the cover, or it could be work on organizing the things like the mailing list. What I said to myself was I had to do something on the project every day. And even if it was only 20 minutes, I'd count it. So I actually have a little sort of app on my phone where I tick off things I'm supposed to do. And if also work on the project is one of the things. So it's not right. Although 90% of the time it is writing. But if I don't feel if the muses don't arrive, then I'll do something else. I'll also do something.
Okay. What advice would you give to a new writer, someone who's got that idea in their head, but they haven't put pen to paper as yet?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I looked at it. Look, I think you learn about writing by writing. You don't become a writer by thinking about wanting to be a writer one day. You actually sit down and write, and then your ideas start to come together. Like I'd done probably nearly 10 years of academic writing. So I'd done my BA. So I came into teaching late. I actually didn't do any university till I was like 37. So I did my BA, I did my Bachelor of Teaching, and then I did about 4 graduate certificates in various things to try and make myself more employable. I did about 10 years of academic writing, and I knew I was good at that. But when I started to write this kind of stuff, it was very stuffy, and didn't have the tone that you were talking about earlier. It had this kind of academic tone, and I had to keep writing to develop what I wanted to sound like. I wanted that to be more like how I speak, not like some university professor, because no one's going to want to read that shit. So basically, yeah, I had to write. So I think you've got to write to find your voice. That's the one thing. The other thing is you've got to be really self-reflective. You can't think that you're perfect. You have to look at it yourself with clear eyes and go, okay, what is it? What is it about my writing that needs improving, and be open to it? Talk to people about it. Don't think there's so many people write their first draft. I mean, I know it's a cliche for people to say your first draft is shit, but there's still a lot of people who, they write, I've written a book and it's in first draft, it's dreadful, but it could be all right. But they just don't think to go the next step and actually really look at what it is that needs fixing and looking for advice and being ready to accept advice, that kind of stuff. So it's got to be open to advice. You got to write a lot to sort of really try to refine your voice. For me, and my voice is a smart ass voice, which is why I can't write novels. I did try to write a novel many years ago, and I couldn't get past it sounding like me the entire time. Because that was back in the 1990s before I started the university, and it had all that stuff knocked out of me, and I had to find that again. But yeah, to this particular kind of write, this book is, like I said, it was what I was born to write. It's how I write, and I can't change. I can't actually get that out of my head. I'm too an intrusive a narrator in a novel.
Is it possible to put this book into an audio version? I mean, it's on Kindle and paperback, obviously, but I don't know. Is it one of them that you're considering putting out on an audio version as well? Or?
Well, I did. The rights John Hunt's have the first rights to the audiobook, and they have to exercise those rights within 6 months. Otherwise, the rights revert to me. So they will decide whether they want to produce an audiobook. If they don't produce an audiobook, I get the rights back, and I definitely will produce an audiobook.
Good.
So it's really a matter of it's a little bit. It's partially problematic because there are like lots of pictures in the book.
Yeah.
But if you took the pictures out and read it, it still would make sense. And in fact, sometimes there have been times that I wondered whether the pictures added anything to it or whether I was better off taking them out.
I think it really enhances it, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, that was my what I felt in the end. That's why I left them in. But I also think I've seen audiobooks where you can get a PDF which has all the pictures and stuff. So that's what I figured I would do. I would eventually, if it came to me doing it, I'd read an audiobook or pay someone to read an audiobook. I'm not quite sure whether I could do that or not. Although it's my voice. And that was the one thing about the audiobook is if it's produced in the UK, I know the very first chapter is, when I was a boy in Australia and blah, blah, blah. And so there's really got to be me or someone at least with an Australian accent. Otherwise it's going to sound stupid. So I'm not quite sure how we're gonna work that. But if I have to produce it, I have control over that. But if they produce it, they'll do whatever they feel is necessary.
Well, Scott, it's been an absolute delight being chatting with you. We really appreciate your time.
Yeah, no, I'm happy. I appreciate being asked on. I love talking about it, and really glad you guys asked me to come on. Thank you.
Yeah. Let's keep in touch as we have been on Twitter.
Yeah. But thanks a lot, guys. It's been great, and now I can have more coffee.